Until we actually started giving them the option, okay?
Mhm.
So consequently, they now have the option and they go, whoa, I have control. That's another thing we've just given the seller that they didn't have before. You choose what you want to buy, pay the buyer's agent. You, Mr. Seller, get to choose what you want to pay the buyer's agent. So the psychology is we're under 3 and the seller gets to choose. How much do you think they're going to like you over anyone else they've talked to?
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting? And you guys fight me like crazy on this, like crazy. Truthfully, you have to understand that I'm not just another pretty face. I know shit. Okay.
You do.
You're a rock star.
All right, let's get going here. Please record it. And then also, Jesse, if somebody comes in,
Move
can
them.
you
Got him.
move them around for us? So that
Yep.
we can, okay, let's stay on this. Okay, go.
So here's a scenario. We have a client who is moderately motivated to sell their home and buy another home. For example, he is looking to move to Thousand Oaks. Right now, he plays pickleball there. He coaches pickleball. Was very involved in the community there in Thousand Oaks. But he commutes basically 30, 40 minutes a day to go there. He has a a fairly good interest rate. And let's say we already know his motivation. We already know he doesn't like where he's living right now, wants to be closer to Thousand Oaks, makes his life a lot easier. And he asked the question, okay, so, what are the interest rates doing right now? What does the market look like? How would we address it when we already know their motivation, already
Got it.
have established that?
Hunter, I appreciate the question. And so what are you trying to do with knowing what's going to happen with the interest rates? You trying to time the market a little bit?
I guess, yeah. I think trying to time the market, but also, I mean, like, for us, it's got to make sense financially. Like, we can't afford to see a huge jump in our mortgage if we were to
So
make this
have
move.
you gotten with a lender to go over the statistics and what the numbers are going to be? Like if you sell your house for this and you take this much equity and you put it down on the next house. Have you seen any houses, by the way, that you
Oh yeah, I mean, there's definitely homes over there that we like, for sure. We've seen them online.
How much
But
driving
no,
do you do?
about yeah, about 40 minutes a day.
40 minutes
There,
or
40
there
minutes
and
there,
40
and then 40
minutes
minutes
back.
back.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
which
So
it's a lot.
how painful is that for you?
It's annoying.
So
Yeah,
is it
it's very
early
annoying.
morning? Is it later in the afternoon?
Well, that's the thing. I wake up extra early, so I don't get stuck in that traffic. And it's and I get there early for the pickleball sessions. But
Cool. Oh,
yeah,
great. All right. So what would you do with the extra time? Would you do more pickleball training or would you spend it with your family?
I'd probably do more sleeping.
Okay.
Uh,
Okay. No,
yeah.
I get it. I get it. Okay. But so you'd get a little bit more rest. That would make you feel better. You'd little less grumpy with the kids. How old are your children?
They're teenagers already.
Oh, wow. Okay. So let me ask you this question. Uh, have you talked to them? Do they have to move schools?
Well, they go to private school, so and
So
they're private schools.
they're not going to move
Private,
schools. Okay.
yeah.
So where is the school located? Will you have to drive? Is it located near the home you're at now, or where you moving?
Well, it's kind of actually more so in the middle. Yeah, between.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're actually it's going to be the whole move is going to be better for you and your wife.
Well, for sure.
Getting the kids back and forth. Okay. All right. So the pain of staying kind of sounds like it outweighs the pain of moving.
Well, yeah, you just I guess, but, just like I said, I think, a little bit worried about that we would incur a much bigger mortgage. I don't know
So,
though.
so if and that might happen, that might happen, okay? And if it did happen, how much of a bigger mortgage could you mentally or physically afford?
We could probably afford at least, an increase of like between 500 to 1,000, but any
Okay,
more than that would be,
all right, well,
uh,
let me make a
uh,
note of that. All right, so what we need to do before we go any further is actually do the numbers. So
mhm,
what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get one of our lenders on the phone. But actually, a side note, Hunter, I can do the numbers, and every agent should know how to do them. Okay,
of course, of course.
they're not difficult. You don't have to use a lender for it. And if you push them off to a lender, more times than not, the lender doesn't follow up, and you lose the
Mhm,
lead because you
for
got the
sure.
one moment. So I would take the time and go through the numbers. Okay, so I would so I don't know how deep you want to go, because I would say, well, what are you looking at? How much is it?
Mhm.
Uh,
Yeah.
oh, and how much is your house worth? Oh, you don't know exactly. Okay, that kind of opens the
Mhm.
door for me to go over there. But
Yeah.
let's put an assumptive price on it. And then we
Mhm.
put an assumptive price on it, and we take that money and we put it over there, and then we say, okay, the interest rates today
Mhm.
are, say, 6.5%. And
Yep.
truthfully, in the last week or two, they've been dropping slightly. Okay.
Yep.
But they can go up as fast, you know. So timing the market is very, very difficult. Okay. Um,
Mhm.
and because we are involved with our own lending company, we can get you the best price for the day or week. So you want to have that, right?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so we can do that for you. So then I would do the numbers,
Mhm.
and then I would say, okay, well, we're within your parameters. It's going to cost you about $850 a month today. Okay, the rates might go
Mhm.
up a little bit, and then it's going to cost you a few dollars a month more, or they might go down a little bit, and then it costs you a few dollars. So again, let's go back to the pain. So now we know this. So are you ready to take the next step, take a look at some properties, get your home on the market, see what's going on?
For sure.
Okay,
Okay. Heck yeah.
it's bigger than just a pat answer, but that's how I would handle that.
Perfect. Perfect. Yeah, that's exactly kind of the direction I was thinking. But I think we should probably simulate that again in front of uh, the big
Okay,
the
all
big
right.
group because
Well, we
yeah.
can do it. We could do it, and I could actually do the numbers. We could do this at 8:30 if you want. Oh, wait, you have your 8:30 thing. No, today's Friday. So we would have rapid fire. So instead of rapid fire, we could do this.
Yeah, we can do it.
You want to do that?
So you want to do the same exact situation?
Very similar.
Okay. Anything
Very,
you want to
but
change about
no,
the
because the truth is that I can handle almost everything you throw at me.
Mhm.
Okay? I'm not bragging, I'm just saying.
It's not your first rodeo.
Well, but the point is, and this is a great example, because we're not scripted. We have no net. We don't know. I don't know exactly what you're going to say. I know the concept that you're going in, but I don't know exactly what you're going to say. And I have no trepidation about it. And I'm going to have 50 people that are 40 people on the, looking at me. And I'm supposed to be the guy that knows what he's doing. So think about, that was a question that Ron asked yesterday. Hey, Sean, how are you?
Morning.
Good. So Ron asked that question yesterday. So he said at the beginning, how many of you, if I said my wife, meaning Ron and Michelle, wanted to put their house on the market this afternoon, how many of you right now could do a listing presentation that might move the needle for me? How many people raised their hand out of 40 people?
Well, I couldn't see.
Not many.
Two people raised their hand, and I think the other guy was a liar. Where did Hunter go?
Right here.
There he is. So not many people can do that. And
Yeah.
that's the key of confidence.
Yeah, I can.
Okay, so yeah, let's do this.
So here's the scenario, Neil. You already know my motivation. My motivation is that I want to move to Thousand Oaks. We live right now about 30, 45 minutes away. But I travel to Thousand Oaks every day because I'm a pickleball coach. That's where my club is based, and we also just very active in that community. Yeah, not loving the neighborhood we're in right now. Would love to just have a little bit more convenience in our life, but at the same time, we have a fairly good interest rate, and kind of just curious if what happens. So, Neil, so like, I mean, I guess,
Hunter,
tell me,
so I'll
tell me
just
this,
start
how are
with
the,
you. Go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah, Neil, tell me this, how, I mean, like, how is the interest rates affecting the market? Like, how do you think, I mean,
Hunter, that's a great question. And we've been talking a little bit about your move, but I need a teeny bit more clarity, if you would.
okay.
All right. So how long does it take you to get to your work?
Yeah, it's 45 minutes there and 45 minutes back, every single
Okay.
day. And
And
yeah,
how long have you been doing that?
doing it now for, going on, I guess, 4 or 5 years now. Yeah.
Okay, got it. And where do the kids go to school?
So they go to private school, and yeah, they're actually right
What's
there
the
in between.
proximity of the children? Are they gonna, are you and you or your wife, do you guys take them to school daily?
Yeah, yeah. So actually, I take them to school and pick them up afterwards. It's on the way, so luckily, like, thankfully, it's like it's 20 minutes in between essentially. So right there in the halfway mark.
Got it.
But yeah, but I mean, like everything else, like we go to church, pickleball, all of that's in Thousand Oaks, and
So moving to
we,
Thousand Oaks, moving to the place that you work, the pickleball headquarters, would be a positive mood, correct?
well, yeah,
Yeah, so
absolutely.
you'd cut, almost 2 hours of drive time off.
Hmm.
So I'm kind of curious, would you use that drive time to play pickleball, or would you use that drive time to hang out with the family?
Well, honestly, I'd probably a little bit more hanging out with the family, but I'll actually sleep in a little bit more too, because I mean, like, I'm basically waking up early to make it a 45-minute commute, because I know otherwise, if
For
um,
sure, for
yeah,
sure. You're going
otherwise,
against traffic, right? Or with traffic.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly, yeah.
Excellent. So how old are the kids?
Yeah, Jason's 15, and Maddie, she is 13.
I just want to confirm, you're not moving schools, are you?
No, they go to private school, so
They go to private school, so you're going to continue that. So you or your wife are going to have to drive backwards slightly, but it's cutting a lot of time off of your daily drive, right?
well, for sure. And then also, I mean, Jason's going to get his license, I guess, next year, and that could potentially
Oh,
also
that's
kind of help us
awesome.
out. Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. Isn't that great?
Yep.
So let me ask you something. What is it about the interest rates that concerns you that you asked the question?
Yeah, just we've got a fairly good interest rate right now, and I just I
By
guess
the way, how
I'm
much
worried
is your
that,
interest rate? By the way, how much is
yeah,
your interest rate?
we got it's like a 3.5% interest rate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got
Um,
And
but yeah,
what's your payment right now?
so our payment right now is about 3,000.
Okay. So I'm kind of getting the feeling that you don't want to lose the 3%, or you don't want to pay a lot more, or, what is it about that?
Yeah, I guess it's just we don't want to pay a whole lot more. I mean, like, yeah, we're kind of comfortable in the budget we have right now. I wouldn't want to see a whole lot of extra money have to, go towards the mortgage each month,
What do you
especially
think?
because
Go ahead. Go ahead.
we're we're starting to save up for the kids' college and so forth. And
That comes
um,
quickly, doesn't it?
it does, it does. It's crazy, right?
Right. Okay. So it sounds like that you want to make the move. It would cut some time off of your day. It would make you and your wife happier. You're not going to disrupt the children's life. But if it's going to cost too much money, you don't want to do it, right?
Well, yeah, I think so.
Okay. So when I say cost too much money, what's the number? What would it cost you? Well, right now you're paying $3,000. What's the number you won't consider paying?
I mean, I think we could. It wouldn't break the bank if we had to increase our mortgage maybe 500 to 1,000 more a
Okay.
month. But like anything more than that would, I don't know, could potentially kind of be difficult for us, or
Okay.
not difficult, but just would make us kind of have to move some things around.
All right. Have you done the math well, first of all, have you seen any houses in Thousand Oaks that fit the bill and that would be great? Do you seen any of
Yeah,
those? Okay.
yeah,
And
for
how,
sure, for sure. That
and okay. So,
yeah.
you seen them with another agent or just kind of going to open houses or what?
Oh, just online. I am
Oh,
online, and I mean, like we have friends who live in a community out there called the Meadows, and
mhm.
we really like that neighborhood.
Are you working with a real estate agent now?
No,
Okay. All right.
just
So this is just a kind of we're checking it out.
yeah, just because I mean, yeah, it's something we've been thinking about and talking about for a while. It's just um, yeah, it's just a matter of kind of whether or not it makes sense for us financially or so
Okay.
forth. Yeah.
All right. Cool. Excellent. Um, so has anybody walked you through the math?
Well, no.
Okay. All right.
No.
So what's the price range of the home that you would be considering buying?
I think we'd probably be looking at a million to 1.1.
Okay. Is it two or one?
Uh, 1.1. Yeah.
Okay. So 1.1 is your max. Why?
I think that, well, I mean, I just think I would assume kind of based off what our current home is worth and kind of what equity we'd be bringing with us.
All right. Well,
I just
let's
assume.
all right. So how much is the home that you're living in worth, in your opinion?
Well, I think it's worth close to the same amount, somewhere between 1 and 1.1.
Okay, so let's call it 1.1. All right, good. And let's talk about the interest. You said what's the payment you said was $3,000 now, right?
Yep. Yep.
Okay, all right. You would max go to $4,000 ish. Okay. How long ago did you buy the house?
So we bought this one about 4 or 5 years ago.
Okay, what'd you pay for it?
We paid, I we think, it was when the market was really good. We actually got it for like 850.
Okay.
You know,
You know the move is going to cost you a little bit of money in the tax increase, right? You already considered that?
um, well, well, yeah, I guess so.
So what I mean there is you pay 1.25% for um, for taxes that's how it gets calculated. So if you're buying a $1.2 million house, you'd be paying $1.2 million. And anybody, I'm having trouble going to the math really quick. 1.25 times 1 equals $13,750 is going to be your new tax bill. What's your tax bill now?
Uh, I'd have to pull it up.
Well,
I don't know off
probably
the top of my
somewhere
head.
around 9,000. Just
Well,
if you paid
yeah,
850,000 for it, and is 1.1%, it's probably somewhere in the $9,000 range. So right off the bat, something you hadn't even thought about is going to end up costing you about $5,000 a year in taxes. That's $500 a month right there. So the reason I'm starting to go through the math is I want you to be able to see the differences, and so that you can really make an educated decision and what's going on before you took a ton of time looking for houses, et cetera, et cetera. So I want to ask you right now, is anything we talked about right now so far deterred you from your goal of moving your family and yourself closer so you don't have to make that kind of a drive?
No, I mean, I think we would just want to kind of understand and kind of be able to digest some numbers.
Okay, all right. So far, so good. You're still on track to get there, right?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, good. Okay, so now let's talk about and remind me getting to the house and moving neighborhoods. Is there anything else besides you sleeping in a little bit that might be important to you about this move?
Well, like I said, kind of all of our community is there. We that's where I'm working. That's where we go to church. And so, I mean,
You would really cut a lot of time off of your daily commute.
oh yeah, absolutely.
Got it. How,
Now,
anybody got a calculator handy? Tell me what 1.850 minus one, the other way around. 1.1 million minus 850 is? Quick.
250,
How much?
250,000.
250,000 or not, or 350?
1.1 minus 850, right?
Correct.
Yes.
Yes, 250.
250. Got it. Okay, thank you. All right, and then Moet, 250,000, no, that's gonna give me, we're gonna take the 250 and put it down on the new house, which is gonna give me a mortgage of how much?
Wait, what was the purchase price of the new house?
Right. 1.1.
And that'd be 850.
We're gonna have an 850 mortgage. We put 250 down. We're gonna have a 1.1 sales price. Okay, so the interest rates today are 6.5%.
Yep.
That feel right?
Yep.
Okay, I don't have my card with me. I didn't think about this. What's the factor for $1,000 on 6.5%? James,
800.
wait, eight?
I do 8. Yeah, 800. It's
Okay.
not exact.
All right, so 8 times 850 is how much?
It would be 6,800 on that loan. PITI, not just PI.
Ah, okay, so 6,800. Okay, well, PITI, so, okay. I'm sorry, people, I'm confusing you slightly and I apologize, but you have to know how to do these numbers. I can do the numbers, I just can't do the calculations, the numbers, and
Yeah.
talk to you at the same time.
I think also I probably should have given a little bit more realistic numbers. If we're talking about $1 million home, like 3,000 probably is not a realistic a realistic mortgage.
Well,
You're probably looking at a higher
it
mortgage.
is at 3.5%.
Yeah.
It probably is. What's the factor on 3.5%, Moet? Do you know?
Used to be $600.
How much? 5,600?
600. So that would be a mortgage of 5,100 back in the day. So it's a $1,700 difference.
Okay, so that's probably in the ballpark, Hunter.
Mhm.
So $1,700 difference, but that includes the taxes, right?
Correct. And insurance.
So
Typically.
Hunter, let me ask you this question. Let's assume these numbers are right, all right? So we're $1,700 you're gonna pay more a month to live in this house, taxes, insurance, et cetera, this new piece of property where you do not have to drive um, back and forth twice a day. Do you do that on Saturdays and Sundays also? Sometimes?
No, sometimes on Saturdays, but yeah, absolutely every Sunday as
And
well.
then you said the church is near the pickleball court?
Oh yeah, it's in Thousand Oaks as well.
Got it. So you have a lot of commutes. You have hours and hours a week.
Well, yeah.
So the question is the 1,700 more pain than you can take for the driving, or about the pain you could live with for the driving?
Yeah. Well, considering California gas prices, yeah, maybe.
That has another factor for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Haven't bought a Tesla yet, so yeah. Yeah, no, it's a good point.
So looking at the numbers, do you feel that could we go out this weekend and maybe look at a couple pieces of property and see if there's something there that, hey, I have to own this house and we could move forward with it?
Well, yeah, absolutely. I think I'd be open to that. I think
All right,
my
okay,
wife and
very
I
good. So
both would be open to that.
what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pick a couple properties for you to see. And we'll do a little bit of research on that. And you can use my car for the driving, so you don't have to drive. I'll come pick you up.
Come
Okay,
pick me up.
yeah. And what I'll do is set a time for after we meet to go over and make sure that the house that you have in wherever it is you're living is worth the $1.1 million that we can get. And we can figure from there. Does that make sense to you?
Okay, yeah.
Okay, good. So I'll pick you up Saturday morning and we'll go take a look, or Friday afternoon, which is better for you?
Let's do Saturday afternoon.
Okay, sounds good. All right.
Right.
Okay, Hunter, where'd I screw up?
I don't think you screwed up at all. I think for the most part, I mean, I think I screwed up. I should have given him a little bit more realistic
It's fine.
numbers.
It's fine, because
But
the point I want to make here is that I'm versatile.
yeah,
Okay, in other words, I didn't have to be exact. It was okay. You were okay with it. Everybody on here was okay with it, because
Yeah.
look, if I'm going to sit in front of you and I'm going to actually fill out a deposit receipt and I'm going to do all that kind of stuff and we're going to get a lender involved, we're going to be accurate. All right. But right now I'm in the ballpark and I'm probably a little bit high, or I'm close to being a little bit high for what the deal is going to be. Once I find you the house that you want and you start to get involved with, you don't have to drive, you're going to get more and more and more motivation toward doing the deal. Right now, I can't expect you to do anything unless you see a house that you might have some interest in.
Yeah, for sure. It's like we gotta follow the Sir Isaac Newton's law of inertia. We gotta get them in motion so they can stay in motion. I do think maybe there was one question it might be worth of asking, because you know, my expectation is that my budget might be 1.1. But it might have been a good question to ask. Well, you know, considering, you know, the interest rate's a little bit higher, are you open to maybe getting a home that's a little bit lower on the budget, but you know, can still, you know, match what you're looking for in terms of bedrooms and so forth? That way, you know, kind of we can match expectations to reality. If
I would do
in this
that
case,
once I
yeah,
showed them the house,
yeah,
because I need to get the expectations. Actually, it would generally go the other way.
yeah,
They wouldn't be, they might look at a lower priced house, but they're never going to end up with a lower priced house. They're actually going to stretch.
yeah.
Okay, because that's human nature. That's what we're dealing with. Okay, so talk to me. Questions?
I have one or a couple.
Go ahead.
I like the way you built upon the conversation by asking a lot of questions. The first thing that you said that I thought was interesting was what is it about the interest rate that concerns you? Because you tried to get to the motivation behind why it was a big deal. And for him, for Hunter, it was the comparison of what he was paying to what it currently is. And then you got him, you began asking questions about how long he's been in the house, how long he's been in the house, what he paid for it, what it's worth now. You did the math, $250,000 difference. Okay, that means if we come down in price from what you're wanting, or use the $250,000 as a down payment, then we can keep you at your 1.1 budget with the 250, and that will bring you back down to 850, but it'll be a higher interest rate because of where we are now. But I like how you really just, you didn't make it a hard conversation. You flowed and asked some questions that made sense. So
That was the point. It was a complete conversation. I had
yeah,
no idea where he was going.
yeah,
Think about this. No idea where he was going to take this. I didn't know about the children. We had talked about a school, so I kind of knew what was going to happen with the school. But when he originally told me the age of the kids, because this is critical. If the children are in high school and they're not in the move, you're screwed. That deal's not going to go through.
Okay.
Okay? Anybody run into kids that are high school students that are involved in the school and they're never get Moet, you know what I'm talking about. Okay? So you've got to ask these questions and find out what's going on. He neutralized it for the sake of this role play by making it a private school and that they wouldn't move. But if they were going to move from, I don't know, Woodland Hills to Thousand Oaks, then you would have had to move high schools probably. And my grandson is so entrenched in the football team that I do not think a nuclear bomb would move him. So, I mean, I just, then his parents aren't thinking of moving. Well, he's in a private school, so it wouldn't really matter. But you get what I'm saying, right?
Just another observation too, Neil. I also found it interesting that you did not think your questions were intrusive, because it's like you had to really get to the essence of really what was happening in their lives, and that's helpful for me because I like to ask a lot of questions of people without feeling intrusive, because again, I think in you asking those questions, you were definitely interested in what's happening in their lives in order to make the
Okay,
best,
that's
help them
what
make the
you
best.
felt. That's
That's what I felt in
Okay,
order to make the belt.
Did everybody feel like I was just having a conversation?
Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah, I felt that you were.
That's how that happens. Because
Mhm.
if I sounded like I was interrogating them,
Yeah,
they wouldn't answer the question. So it's none of your business. And that's why you don't get it's none of your business because the seller doesn't want to share. You get none of your business because you sound, this is your issue, not the seller's issue, because you sound like you're interrogating the client. You can't do that.
Well,
Okay.
you know what? You know why that worked and why it worked for you, Neil, is because instead of just question, you received the answer, you acknowledged the answer, you talked a little bit about the answer, and then bam, next question. So it was a real
And by the
dialogue. It
way,
wasn't an interrogation.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. And with the driver, Hunter, I probably would have moved faster. I know you're not a driver. And so, you're taking your time answering it. You're being thoughtful. You want to give me a correct answer, et cetera, et cetera. With a driver, I was probably driving some of you drivers nuts. I was a little bit slower. Okay. Josie, how did that feel? That feel natural and normal?
Well, it showed me how important it is to ask money questions
Okay.
that I don't think I do that. that deeply.
Interest rate is a money question.
Yeah.
And there's nothing you can say that's going to absolve it. Is what's the seller really interested in? What's the down payment? And what's the payment? Because those are the figures they're going to deal with. How much cash do I need to come up with? And what's the payment on this thing? If the interest rate is 4%, but you're amortizing it for 10 years, they can't afford it. Do you get the point?
Mm-hmm.
If the interest rate is 4%, let's make the interest rate 6%, but it's amortized for 30 years, they can afford it. So play with those numbers and don't do numbers unless you've practiced this. Okay?
Neil,
If you
question.
have, go ahead.
How do you get better at that number side of things that we don't always practice?
Well, you have to practice. That's the key.
Okay.
You have to practice it. See, I walked into my room here. I have a card in my wallet that I can pull out at any time that gives me from 3 or 4% to 7 or 8% on the back of the card, and it is the dollars per thousand. Okay, whether it's a 30-year or a 15-year, which gives me a very accurate, but I don't do what Moet does. I do the actual payment, and then I add the other stuff to it. See how I did the interest rate? I mean, not the interest, but the taxes. Now, did anyone like or understand what I was doing with the taxes, why I brought it up when I brought it up?
Could you explain that?
Not really.
Okay.
The
Yeah,
1.2?
I
taxes-
wanted to, it was a test. It was a test of Hunter, the client. I knew that it was going to cost more money. No question about it. Okay. I know the numbers well enough to know it was going to be more. I didn't know exactly that it was what it was going to be, but I knew that the numbers, 1.25 on $1.1 million and 1.25 on $850,000 on the 1.21 is more, right? Is more.
And you said that was the tax increase to move, correct?
Property taxes.
There's a
Property
property
taxes.
Yeah, okay.
Got it. Okay.
The county.
So
But that doesn't include the supplemental tax, right?
that's correct.
Right.
Okay. So, and then you have to know in the areas that you're working in, whether there's supplementals of any consequence. A little supplemental's no big deal. Okay. You know, when you're talking about $13,000 worth of taxes, it's like, okay. That's why people aren't moving. We think it's interest rates. The taxes. They paid $400,000 for a house that's now worth $1.2 million. Okay, taxes on $400,000 at 1.25% is somewhere in the $4,000 range, right? 4,500, something like that. On a $1 million house, it's $12,000 a year. Boom, right away, day one. Okay? That's what's
Huge
causing
difference.
people like me not to move. Are you crazy?
Is that also like the same tax with the mansion tax as well for things over?
Well, the mansion tax is different.
Okay.
On of all the things we're talking about, the mansion tax, great point, is an additional, not exactly the numbers, but I think it's 3% on the first 5 million, 5 to 10 million. And then over 10 million, it's like 4%. So on top of my commission, on top of my now new taxes on my new house, I have to pay 3%. If you're selling a $5 million house, that's $150,000 real money off of the equity of your home. James, I saw you blow a whistle. The
Yeah.
equity
Well-
tax is a real problem.
Well, Neil,
Well, guys,
Neil, the majority of the individuals that are concerned about the property taxes, like you said, are basically the baby boomers who bought their homes at a certain price. 10, 20 years later, they have built so much equity, and not only do they have to deal with capital gains as
You
well.
know, well, you have baby boomers, but you have the greatest generation. You have that group that bought their houses. Most people 30 years ago were in their 40s when they bought these houses. And if they stayed in them, they're 30 years later, they're now in their 70s. But 70s, the guy that presented yesterday, Larry Kozak, is exactly the same age I am. He's 74 years old. Okay? He doesn't look 74 years old, right? Powerful guy.
neither do you, Neil.
I mean, neither do you, Neil, really. Come on.
Thank you.
Smooth, Hunter, smooth.
What did she say?
She said smooth, smooth.
Facts.
We
Facts.
keep you young,
Uh,
Neil. We keep you young.
I'm sorry, what?
We keep you young.
Yeah, you do. Actually, when people ask me how do I do it, it's very simple. My mother had great genes, and I inherited those genes. And my wife is the best in the world to me, for me. So I would be older if it wasn't for her. I would be a worse grandparent if it wasn't for her. She makes me a great grandparent.
Oh, you're a good man, sir.